to galacticconnection.com, one of the most popular blogs on the World Wide Web today for alternative news. Stay tuned for the latest information on our world shift from enslavement to galactic involvement, as well as current intel on any blockages impeding us from our sovereign birthright. Knowledge and self-mastery are key at this time. Our commitment is to present you with the latest breaking conspiratorial articles, off-world messages, exopolitics, cutting-edge technologies and sciences, and also an ever-significant intertwining of spiritual support and metaphysical scope that one needs to dive down the rabbit hole in search for truth with balance. We are truly on the horizon of a new golden age filled with the promise for more love, worldwide peace, and accelerated intuitive skills, where every living being can exist in cohesion and abundance. It is whatever we envision and dream this new world to be. I say to you now, let's redefine the new world to the beginnings of our own precious heaven on earth. Galactic Connection is here to provide the pulse of Mother Earth through an eclectic range of interviews each Tuesday afternoon from 3 to 4:55 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Station 2 on BBS Radio, expanding your perspectives on how we can once and for all take back our freedoms, our joy, and our connection with our mighty I Am presence. Our intention remains true to connect hearts and minds everywhere in order to obtain global unity and galactic and universal acceptance. Our discussions will continue to cover anything to do with galactic society and our involvement with our galactic brothers and sisters. Our guests are experts in their fields, and our radio shows have been coined as some of the most thought-provoking out there. In addition to our daily blog, which runs 365 days a year, we also offer a realm of healing services such as our world-renowned implant removal processes, our spiritual past life clearings, our galactic violet ray alchemy from Alexandra, who shares in the lineage of Merlin, and other cutting-edge healing technologies. Check our site out at galacticconnection.com now, sending you a wave of light, love, and inspiration, and a personal hug and thank you for listening to our Galactic Connection radio show and visiting our blog today. Hello everyone. This is Alexandra Meadors of galacticconnection.com, and this is a pre-recorded interview again for December 29th, 2015. Now, wow, we're talking almost 2016 here, and because of that, we've got a very special program today. Now, as you know, my last radio show, we were covering the Declaration of Sovereignty with Will Berlinghof of Cosmic Awareness. And because of that interview, it sparked an interest within both of us to go ahead and present a forecast for 2016 through the eyes of cosmic awareness. Now, before we dive into that, I would like to remind everyone, please remember, as we continue to rise in our frequency, in our consciousness, we are now meeting more opposition in a higher, let's just say a higher frequency band. And because of this, we are being very much presented with some challenging situations regarding psychic attack. The number one thing that we're being challenged to do now is to get off our knees. And I know that that's something that's very logical, and a lot of us talk about that amongst the healing community, but literally, those of us that are seeking out for healing, for repairing, for changing our lives and getting on track, we are really being challenged to change that belief system that we've always got to go outside ourselves to do the repairs. Now, what I mean by that is all of us as healers are here to assist one another and to heal, to assist in healing planetary issues, as well as all of the mass consciousness that's going to be coming on board soon. But what we're really being challenged with right now is this belief system that we have, that we get so deluged with an attack that we have no solution. Now, what if I was to tell you that the solution is really merely you recognizing that you have the power to stop it, to banish it, to step into your power and say, No, back off, banish, and convert them to the light. So there's two things that are going on here. One is we're looking at those that we call the dark entities in a little bit of a different light. We're looking at them with more compassion, and we're recognizing it's not enough to banish them, because where else are they going to go? They're just going to harass someone else, right? I mean, we're here to clean up the mess, and the best way to do that is to send every being back to the light. Free them as well. We're recognizing that not only are we in an imprisonment of this matrix, but so are they. So are they. It's a game, the dark and the light. So I just want to point that out. It is time for those of you that are being completely deluged to really look at any kind of belief system that's going on as to what is the inner core truth that is, maybe it has a void or it's lacking something as far as you acknowledging you are the master. Okay, so with that said, I want to go ahead and bring on Will Berlinghof of Cosmic Awareness. Now, I didn't have a chance last time to talk about his background a little bit, but Will has an extensive experience in traditional counseling, and even I was not aware of that, Will, because I couldn't find hardly anything on his site about his background. And because he's such a humble guy, he has a BA degree in psychology with practical training in addiction counseling, as well as group therapy. He has been the voice for Cosmic Awareness for over 10 years and has gained international repute and clients from all around the world. He has been on television and radio a number of times, and he's had articles published in various magazines. His also main therapeutic approach is the regression therapy, and we will talk about that in another time, but it is an excellent therapy. I have experienced it. I would highly recommend you check it out. And he also uses ancient Hawaiian practice of huna, connecting you with your lower self and your higher self. So as always, please check out their website. It's at rainbow-phoenix, right, .com. Correct, Will?
Yes, that's correct, Alexandra.
Okay, I want to make sure I got that right. And also do not forget to check out the last interview regarding the Declaration of Sovereignty. This is big. This is really big. And especially the fact that we are proclaiming it, and we're proclaiming it at the privacy of our own home, at our own convenience, in our own time. Let's make sure this spreads across the world. It's just so simple, so easy, everyone can do it. Okay, so today we are gonna rock and roll and present some really good questions regarding the forecast for 2016. So before we dive into that, before Will kind of shifts a chair or two over for Cosmic Awareness to come and sit down, Will, is there anything you wanted to add before we kind of bump you out of the picture?
Yeah, before I'm asked to vacate the driver's seat and let Cosmic Awareness take over. Yeah, okay. I usually say that when I do my channeling for Cosmic Awareness, because I'm not a trance channeler, I don't vacate, I don't leave. I'm still in there.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Cosmic Awareness, yeah, it's part of it, I think. Cosmic Awareness is at the driver's seat, and I'm in the back, where I try not to be a backseat driver.
Got it.
So I do hear the questions. I hear what awareness is saying, and to a degree, I remember some of it immediately after, but it kind of drifts after a day or two. But it is a curious thing to just allow another level of your own consciousness, because I think ultimately Cosmic Awareness is a deeper expression of my own consciousness taken out many, many degrees. And just to hear the information flowing through, because there's part of me that thinks, what the hell is Cosmic Awareness saying now? You know, or, oh my God, it just said this to this person, and I've never met the person, never talked to them, and it's talking about their intimate details, and I'm going, oh my gosh. And then they'll say, yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. So over the years, the biggest thing I've had to do is learn how to trust the process, trust the actual level of awareness or consciousness that is coming through me that calls itself Cosmic Awareness, And by the way, it could come under any name. It could be infinite awareness. It could be divine awareness. Doesn't matter. This is the name that was given to this force in consciousness many, many years ago, before I started to channel it. And what I find is that the energy is what makes the difference. That's what I can't really express in my bio or anything else, that when a person has a channeling with cosmic awareness, they're going to feel a shift in energy. And it's palatable. I've had many people say, yeah, I just felt it. As soon as the awareness started, it was...
Hey, yeah. I was talking.
So I
want to tell you, Will, I was talking to some friends the other day, and they were laughing so hard because I said, you know, that last interview with Cosmic Awareness, Will Berlinghof, and they said, yeah. They said, Alexandra, you looked almost like you became dazed. And I said, yeah. It was like the power coming forth was so powerful. I could really feel the presence. I mean, it's significantly very.
Yeah, and it's different for different people. It's not like everyone will have that experience. But what I feel happens is that, like in your case, you have shifted also to a slightly alternative perspective, a different level of your own consciousness. And so we're both going to another place, and this communication is happening. So that's one way of looking at it. It's my way of looking at it. So,
you know, Will, some people will ask, and you know, they just question why they would trust the words through a channeler, because there's just been so much information written about that. And you addressed that last time, that there's maybe only, what, 8% of all the channelers on the, or 8, I forgot what you said, 8%?
Yeah, just a small percentage.
Very small percentage. 8%. You know, probably one of the questions I think people are wondering is, how do you make sure, how do you know that you're receiving that really clean, clear, accurate channel with directly this multiple-souled cosmic awareness force?
I think the best answer to that is, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you just stay open to the information. You don't judge it. You don't say, no, that's a channeled source, that's bogus. You stay open. If it makes sense, it will be apparent. If it touches you, then there's that resonance that happens. You know that feeling? We've all had it. When we hear something and we know it's the truth, it resonates within us. Now, cosmic awareness itself has always said, and it was the main reason I ever became interested in the channeling of cosmic awareness way back in the 70s when another person was doing it. It's always said, don't believe anything I tell you. Well, it's not an I. Don't believe anything it tells you. Take that information, weigh it up, go and do some research, look into other areas, look into your life. If you apply any of those principles in an active way in your life, does it lead to change? Is there something about the information when it comes to you that it has that resonance and it has that feeling of, I know this? Because more often than not, awareness actually isn't even saying anything new to the person. It's what they already know, but they haven't been able to trust that. And then there's awareness. It's putting forth this information, and the person saying, that's what I already know. So it confirms something for them. So that's how you do it. You don't believe any channel, just blindly, without asking any questions or feeling your heart and the emotional energies. You should always weigh up any of them and just see, does this make any sense? Go and do some research if they suggest this or tell you about that. And when you have done all of that, that is when that experience of the channeling of this source, cosmic awareness, may make more sense. For a lot of people, it's an immediate thing, but I'm talking here about the skeptics. And I have had skeptics, you know, it's not like every single person that ever phones and has a reading is a total believer. They don't have to be. But, you know, we have to be skeptical to a degree, but not to the point where we throw the baby out with the bathwater, where we dismiss it all. Because It's not in context to a belief system that we have been trained to or brainwashed into. You know, it's not that program that everyone else says is normal and sane. So what? Try something new. Have that experience and see what it does for you.
I think there are a lot of...
How's that sound?
No, I agree with you. I think there are a lot of people out there where they are like me from the standpoint, I'm kind of an information junkie, you know, for lack of better terms. I enjoy looking at all the different perspectives of a situation. I thrive on that. I like to see the conflicting data as well as that which is resonating to me, because it expands my perspective. So however that ends up coming into my life, and as we all know, some of those that have caused you the greatest nightmares in your life are those that delivered you the most profound messages.
Absolutely. Sometimes your greatest...
Yeah.
I was just going to say, Alexandra, sometimes your greatest teachers are your worst enemies.
Definitely. Definitely.
You know?
So it's important for us to, yes, we need to be discerning. It's really more about the attachment to the information. You know, if you're detached from the information and you're just observing and hearing the information and not like, you know, banking on a date or, you know, hey, this person said this and I'm going to go to the bank with that kind of thing, then it's going to cause you issues. But if you can step back and look at it as, number one, entertaining, because it's always entertaining to listen to Cosmo.
It does have a strange sense of humor sometimes.
And I feel it when I'm talking to it or whatever. But anyway, well, you tell me, are you ready to dive in? Got lots of good questions.
Certainly. Absolutely. Let's go for it, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Now, how long do you want to be in? Because I know you only want to do so long.
Well, let's just see how it flows. An hour is usually a good time. My personal sessions with people are an hour to an hour and a half usually. You know, so that's a comfortable time for me.
Sounds good.
And awareness feels it's done before that, it will let you know.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So I'm going to just go within and make my connections again. That which is cosmic awareness is now available and greets you, Alexandra, and says that this evening, this morning, for it is morning with you, of course, is an interesting time to come together, to look at the energies of the year 2016, it being the 29th of January when this interview will be released. A perfect time to review perhaps the year that has been, and then, of course, also to look forward to the year that lies ahead. Therefore, this awareness is ready to proceed.
Thank you. So I think the first question right out the gate would be, how would you compare the energetic shifts in 2016 to that which occurred in 2015?
In one way, the energetic shifts are not separated by the time. Those in 2016 will be a carry-on and a continuance of the energies of 2015, but at a more intense level. For 2016 will be a crucial year for those who are in charge, if you will, the elites, the Illuminati, the Cabal, the powers that be, the powers that were, that for them, this coming year of 2016 is their final year to establish their agenda and their plan. What is meant by this is that when 2017 rolls in, gone will be their cover and that protection that has surrounded them for so long, that cloak of invisibility where these ones have done from behind the curtain, their acts of magic, not something indeed along the lines of Wizard of Oz. Mm-hmm. And that 2015 marked the beginning of a 2-year period. And there were many events in 2015 that were meant to push acceptance in the masses to a higher degree, and acceptance of the false flags and the lies that have been put out in 2015. And this will continue into 2016. Does this mean that at the conclusion of 2016, they will be totally exposed? It does not. For these ones have lived in the shadow so long that this is their natural place of hiding. But it does mean that after the conclusion of 2016, that they will no longer be able to hide in the shadow, for the light is growing stronger, and it is the light that will bear down on them and expose them more and more. They understand this, they being, of course, these powers that have worked so diligently and for so long in the plot, if you will, to fully gain complete and total control over humanity and over the planet. When this occurs, much will open up, but first you will need to go through 2016. And do not be surprised if there is not a growing amount of false flag events, escalating events is the word this awareness was seeking, and that these events will become more and more outrageous as they try to complete their agenda and be in greater control for 2017. Unfortunately, what they do not see, understand, or realize is that their door of opportunity is actually already shut. And that even though they think they will still achieve their goals, it is not seen that they will be successful. Therefore, 2016 will still be a very eventful and heart-pressing year, and the atrocities that may be committed during this year in order to push humanity over a brink where total control methods can be brought in will be of such a nature that it will challenge many, especially those unaware of the truth of what is happening and who is in charge. For those who are already seeing through these ones, have been asking questions, who recognize false flags events immediately, that it will simply become more and more obvious. The good news is, as these obvious events take place, more people are now starting to ask questions, are not totally accepting everything. And this shift in acceptance is crucial to the shift in consciousness that is also underway at this time. Does this answer, in a short version, your question?
Yes, thank you. Now, what would you say is the role of the enlightened ones who are aware of these false flags, who are aware of the cabal's miscreations and their impediments and blockages and all of this, the information that has come forth? We're very aware of the black magic and the way that they're manipulating people. What do you see as our primary role in the year 2016 as things begin to escalate?
Above all else, to hold the space. This space is that which is of an energetic nature. It is not falling for the lies or the deceptions. For some, they may be able to speak of these matters to others. Do not worry if others find what you have to say as too incredible and too far-fetched. For it is not about winning anyone over, but it is about planting seeds. It is about putting a germ of a thought in their minds that can grow, that they can look at the events themselves and ask questions. Why this? Why that? But do not anticipate that simply because you have pointed this out, that those around you, especially family and friends, will necessarily believe you. That is why it is important to hold the energetic space where there is no acceptance or tolerance even for the deception, for the false flag events, and that you energize the situation by sending out your thoughts and your sentiments to your own high self, to your own spiritual family, to hold the space and then to actively project your energies into consciousness that these events will be exposed. They will not be successful. This too is part of holding one space, of not believing that these ones will get away with everything, of developing that more positive trust level, that simply because things seem not to have worked in the past, by trying to be positive does not mean that they will fail in the future. That as you hold this positive nature, as you project your thoughts and energies, as you hold the space, this creates an anchorage, if you will, that keeps the energies steady. There are many, many who are holding their space, holding an important space for humanity without ever realizing that this is what they are doing. Many ask the question, what is my purpose? One of the major purposes, therefore, is to hold the space, to hold that position of a positive belief that does not buy into the lies and deceptions, that does appreciate and understand that despite them, there is a way forward. There is hope for the future, that this is the role that is best served at these times of great conflict, this role of a believer of the light, of spirit, of a positive outcome, no matter what things look like at that moment or in the moment.
Ooh, good point. Now, do you see 2016 being the year for actual physical presence of our galactic brothers and sisters?
It is a distinct possibility, but what will affect this in the most positive way is the level of conscious awareness that humanity reaches. That the other day, on the solstice, the declaration and petition were launched. That the major purpose of this, in a way, is to raise the frequency of the individual and of the collective that is humanity. That this project is a worthy one, is extremely important, but it is not the only project, and it is not the only way. For many are starting, as has been shared previously, to insist that perhaps now is a time to ask questions. Therefore, what this means is that more and more are awakening now to something else, something greater. They may not have the words to describe it, they may not understand it, but they know something is happening. And this movement is the movement of divine source, is the energies of spirit that are descending into this third dimensional physical plane. And it is this spiritual movement that is so crucial at this time and moving into the year ahead and then beyond it. for the journey will carry on for years still to reach that perfect place where all of humanity has expanded its consciousness and is ready to take a quantum leap. In the meantime, what is important is working on yourself, developing your own inner connections. It is also important to take care of your physical body, to eat healthy, natural food, to try to avoid taking in toxins, to filter your water, purify the water. This is all important for one's own personal growth, development, and healing, as well as preparing oneself by purifying the body so that it can hold the higher energies. That this is all important in the year ahead.
Nice. Now, many
answer your question.
Oh, yes, definitely. Many are suggesting that a shift in world powers will become very, very apparent in the year 2016. Could you maybe expound upon which countries will be taking center stage and which will be maybe stepping to a back seat position?
The country that will take center stage is the country that already occupies center stage, this being the United States of America. What most do not realize is how heavy the attack is on the populace of the United States, how the efforts are so geared towards breaking down society and cultural values and norms, of destroying your educational system, of attacking its citizens through the use of poisons and toxins, a key point being the point of vaccination, and how there are many who are pushing that vaccination are made legal and that all are obligated to be vaccinated. It is not that they are illegal now, but that it would be illegal to refuse a vaccination. That this is an extremely important event that many must become focused on and aware of. For the vaccinations that they are planning are those that have nanotechnology in it, as well as the toxins and poisons that are also in the vaccinations. This is one of the main thrusts that those in power will attempt in 2016. But they will also continue their war measures, war in other lands, while declaring that they have the moral right and the moral aptitude to determine and to decide which countries must be invaded and which ones wars will be fought in. The continuance of the wars in the Middle East is seen as that which is the highest point. But this will affect the United States, and it is seen that more and more people are starting to see how the effects of being at war in another country are detrimental to the people of the United States. Therefore, in terms of the prime focus country, it is the United States that is seen, but it is also seen other countries such as the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth nations such as Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and others of the Commonwealth will also have many of their standards challenged, and they too will have the issues such as the vaccination issue, such as support for war measures, being at war in another country. The Western nations, therefore, will be the most heavily hit. Other nations, such as Russia and China, because they are not taking part to the same degree and are not under the agenda that the Western nations are, especially the United States, will fare better. They will still have their challenges, especially with measures that are being taken against them, such as sanctions against Russia. But on the whole, they will not fare as badly, for they are more in charge in their countries, and the powers that be are not focused on them. They would like to make them an enemy, and there will be much propaganda that will try to convince many that Russia and China are a threat. But this is not seen as the truth of the matter. Therefore, in final answer to your question, those who are in the advanced Western nations will be hardest hit. This awareness did not mention Europe, but it must now also mention Europe will be hard hit, especially with the refugee problem that they are dealing with at this time, which will continue into the new year.
Thank you.
Does this answer your question sufficiently?
Yes, it does. Now, one of the biggest headlines is that Iraq has liberated the Sunni heartland from ISIS, and supposedly in the next 72 hours, it will be completely solidified and complete. Now, my question to you is, can we look forward to the end of this senseless war that we all know is being orchestrated behind closed doors by not only the oil companies, but the United States and also Turkey? Apparently, Turkey, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia have been funding them. I would like to hear what your perspective is on that.
Unfortunately, it is not seen by this awareness that the war in Iraq, as well as Syria, as well as in the Middle East generally, will be concluded anytime soon, or at least certainly not seen that it will be done by 2016 or in 2016. For their agenda, this being those in power, is to still create a situation that could lead to a deeper crisis, even that which is called a third world war. Stop recording. Note 13. That this awareness says that herein is a small problem, in that because this is so, there will be many who will still try to be involved in the conflict, who will still see their position as one where war is the best thing. Especially corporations. The armament industry, for example, is making a fortune, and they do not want this to end anytime soon. That the Iraqis are starting to turn away from the United States and its allies, and it has been the case recently that they have approached Russia for assistance, because Russia has been quite successful in Syria, despite what reports are on the television. This being said, it is important to realize that the war itself is not a real war. By this awareness means that there are many who have hidden agendas. You have mentioned Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, and that these ones have profited, especially Turkey, with the shipping of oil into its country secretly, that being by ISIS. And these types of things, this duplicity, this hidden agenda, will be exposed in 2016 to an even greater degree. And yet still, many will believe the reason for being in Syria or Iraq is to fight the ISIS terrorists, and that it is imperative to bring them down, for then the terrorism will stop. This brings this awareness to another point then. The war in Iraq and Syria, while it is convenient to many who are profiting from it, is not the real war that the United States is fighting, or the United Kingdom, or the NATO forces. The real declared war is the war against terrorism. And as this is a war that cannot be won, for as you deal with one nest of terrorists, another pops up, or so it seems, and so it is presented. And then when you have dealt with that nest, yet another pops up, or another lone gunman comes forward, and terrorism is again blamed. It is the war against terror that is declared, and it is the war against terror that will not come to an end in 2016, but rather will be expanded on, and false flag events presented that will try to perpetuate and escalate the conflict and the belief that is being handed out to the populace that it is even possible to defeat terrorism in such a way. And this is why this awareness would say that the war in Iraq, Syria, and against terrorism is not seen to be one that will be done by the end of 2016.
Wow. Now, one of the other hottest, latest pieces of news right now is that the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the U.S. military, they chose to break away from the regular protocol, trying to run this by the Obama administration, and chose not to do so because they felt that they would be railroaded and prevented from being able to pursue what they felt was the right thing. They are now coming out with information that the CIA has been involved, and they are taking an opposite stance to the Obama administration. Now, they are also exposing that Qatar and Saudi Arabia and Turkey are involved heavily with the whole ISIS militia and wars and etc. How do you see this impacting the military versus government relations? Can you give us some, just maybe a glimpse into how will those relations work themselves out in the year 2016?
What is seen is a type of battle occurring in the Pentagon amongst the highest military leaders, and there are now ones who are openly suggesting that the government be brought to task. There is not a common consensus, as there once was, that this is a problem for those who have the agenda and who are meant to push the agenda forward, both in the government as well as in the military. And it is seen, therefore, a rebellion is taking place in the highest offices of the military, and that these ones who are against the government and the government's actions, who are trying to expose certain things, are being watched, and they must tread carefully. This situation could, of course, turn to the advantage of those who wish the exposure of those who have been lying about the war and about many other things. But at the same time, it is a very dangerous situation. Therefore, this awareness will not delve deeply into it. What it simply wishes to state is it is seen that there is derision and confusion in the military. There is division amongst the ranks and amongst the highest ranks at that. It is also seen that there is a group that has more power than the ones that are starting to object. And these are the ones that are still pushing the agenda, for their masters are not the American people. but rather ones beyond them, beyond the masses, and that these ones still have the highest degree of power and still are working towards the agenda being reached. Remember that the military mind is the reptilian mind, and that there are many who will simply follow their orders, for they are orders that they are given, and that it is hard for the military type, who is basically of a reptilian nature, for militarism is a very reptilian characteristic, who will find it extremely hard to stand up for the truth, who will find it difficult to go against orders. The fact that there are some now who are starting to do so, who are objecting, is a very important factor indeed. But eventually, those ones who are committing treason against the United States, against the people of the United States, will be exposed, as will the government officials, the senior politicians, the congressmen, the president, the vice president, secretary of state, etc., that they will be exposed because their actions are becoming far too blatant, and there are too many now, even from the top ranks of the military, who are ready to become whistleblowers, who are ready to speak out. Indeed, there are several that are doing so already, and that this is also seen as an energy in 2016 that will come more and more to the forefront. But the problem is that these ones may either be arrested or even assassinated if they become too much of a problem. Therefore, simply be aware that there is a division in the ranks. Not all are happy, and there are many who are thinking that if they are true patriots, they must speak out or lose that which is the country they have pledged to serve.
Do you find this more in the higher ranks or also in the lower ranks of the military?
This mainly in the higher ranks. The lower ranks are very much brainwashed to believe that they must follow their orders. They are there to fight an enemy. They have accepted this. They believe this is so. Yet it is another problem that is seen to be growing, that many of the ones that are at the lower rank, while they will follow their orders blindly and obediently, are finding that upon their return back to their country, the country they felt they went to fight for, are being ignored, worse than being ignored. They are dropped like a hot potato once they return home, and their need for assistance, especially with post-traumatic stress disorder related incidents, that they are not being helped. In fact, the government attitude seems to be one that you've served your purpose, you are no benefit to us any longer, and the door is slammed in the veterans' faces. And many veterans are angered by this. Many are speaking out. And it is then that many are realizing how they have been duped. And many of the veterans who are asking the questions, who are angry at how they have been treated, are ones who will fight for freedom and justice when and if it comes down to it. And that is what is seen with the lower ranks. Their objections, their willingness not to follow orders, to question things, is not seen to be active at the lower state where they are in active duty and while they are in active duty. But when they are released from this and they see how they are treated, how they and their fellow veterans are treated, that the energies shift for them and they become disillusioned with their government and see the truth of what is really happening.
Do you see the U.S. reinstituting a draft, a selective service? It has been posed on mainstream media.
There are two energies here. One is the energy of the illegal aliens that is entering your country, and how many of them might be brought into the military, be accepted by the US military for all that they need in the end is cannon fodder. And for those who are entering illegally, if they can go into the military, that after a prescribed time, they will automatically have citizen rights, be accepted as citizens, and their children, of course, born in the United States, will be American citizens. This is one solution that is being worked on. A secondary solution is that which is the draft and a reintroduction of the draft. It is not at the top of the list at this time, and it is not seen necessarily that it will be brought in 2016, for it would take a time for it to pass through Congress and be reactivated. But remember, these ones do not believe that their mission will be done next year, that they do believe that they can carry on and finally come to success with their plans, their hidden agendas. And therefore, this plan of introducing the draft is seen as something they see perhaps in 2017 or 2018, for they fully anticipate that they will still be fighting wars that are getting more and more out of control, that are escalating, as this is that which serves their plan or their agenda.
Okay. Now, do you see a shift in the U.S. military's worldwide involvement, you know, as a police force? Do you see that shifting and changing drastically because of the exposure and the whistleblowing of what the nature of these wars are all about in the year 2016?
It is not seen that this will shift in 2016. As this awareness has said, that which is already occurring is basically that which will carry on in 2016. And plus, although they might put out, the military might put out, and the propaganda may state that it is a police action, it is anything but a police action. It is a total involvement in a war against other nations and other people. And this is not a police action. Ideally, the police action of a united force that is standing there for higher principles will come into play. But that is not what is current in the situation or what is seen as happening in 2016. Many think that America is there as a policing force, trying to mitigate the situation, helping the freedom fighters. But as most of the freedom fighters have been activated by American support in the first place, and it has been made possible through continual support, that it is unlikely that those in power that are still the ones in power, despite those who are objecting, those who are leaking information, that these ones will continue their plan. For a failure of those with a reptilian character is a lack of flexibility to situations. They have their orders, they have their plan, they have in their minds their goals, and they will continue towards those goals using the same maneuvers and actions that have worked for them before. And this is why this awareness cannot say it sees a resumption of a police force role for the American military.
Okay. Now, you have also insinuated that the dark's power has lessened, that it's been thwarted, that it's becoming more and more weak. and not being able to have the stronghold that it had in the past. And I think you alluded to that in our last couple of interviews ago. Do you agree with this? Definitely. And in what way do you see this becoming an obvious presentation to the world? How do you see this becoming something that really is tangible for people to feel and see?
This is an important question. For the light of awareness, of a consciousness that sees through the dark, because the light is growing, is exactly that which is the most important to achieve, and that which is fully underway. This is the hope for the future. And the importance here is to understand that as one in their own lives and in their own reality holds that the light is growing, then they have introduced that light into their realm and their reality. And that as more become lights, this light becomes greater in the darkness. But what must also be understood is that this, while from a level of spirit is seen to be something that is also accelerating, also speeding up, does not translate into a time scale that sees it being completed in 3 months or 6 months or a year. What must be understood is that it is still important to hold the light even when it seems to be the darkest out there. And as one holds the light, and one holds the light for humanity and for Mother Earth, as has been declared, and the assistance that has been asked for is that which brings the light into human affairs and into human perception, that more and more will start to see this light, this raise in consciousness, and that they themselves begin to ask their questions, which in a way begins to open the door to allow the light of awareness and consciousness into the darkness. Therefore, this awareness says, ultimately, one cannot simply put down a target date and say by this time it should be complete, for it may take longer than that. Remember, there are many who are in power who simply refuse to believe they could fail, who will persevere with their actions no matter how bad it gets, because they would rather bring the whole world, the whole planet, all of humanity down into death and destruction than give in. Ultimately, these ones will be defeated, not because of actions against them, military or armed actions, but because the light of awareness will have grown so strong that these ones cannot themselves remain in the light without changing, without realizing that either they step into this light that is emerging or they step into another timeline and into another reality. This awareness can speak more to this in a moment. But in regard to your question, this awareness would ask, does this answer this question for you sufficiently?
Yeah, that's fascinating to hear it from that perspective. Now, there's been a suggestion, Matt Kahn in particular, that on September 27th, we would be hitting kind of a threshold, a day of no return, so to speak, and that would be kind of like a D-Day, like an ascension day, that there would be some radical shifts and changes. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that 2016 brings about a real so-called closing of one door and opening of another as far as the spiritual ability to evolve to higher dimensionality or higher states of consciousness, for example, for the entire planet or for a specific group of people that have done the work?
This awareness does not agree and it does not disagree. It does see amazing potential in 2016. A date has been given, November 27th, that this awareness sees there is potential in that date, but it does not confirm that it will be a D-Day, a time when the door is completely open to all. But at the same time, for those who believe this and stay focused on it, it may be a day for them to reach such a conclusion. There are other dates, such as September 9th, 2016, where there will be a major alignment of the planets, and that this is a time seen by this awareness as even more appropriate, as being a time when through the collection and the directions of the planets and their alignments, that another wave of high consciousness, that which is divine source consciousness, will come and break upon the planet, lifting it yet again to a new level. What is important, however, is to sense and feel within yourself, and also to work within yourself to solidify your personal attitudes and beliefs. Remember that this awareness does not necessarily say that one event will happen and another will not. It says there is potential for many experiences, and this has much more to do with timelines and the choice of personal timelines one wishes to experience. What will determine a timeline for any individual is their beliefs, is their expectations, is their attitude towards events and circumstances. And there will be many, for example, who do not wish to let go of what has been the traditional norm of life in the United States. The great American dream is still pursued by the majority of Americans trying to achieve the American dream. And even though things may be falling down around them, many will still want to achieve that which is loosely called the American dream. There will be others who want world peace and are ready, for they have been doing their work. They have been finding their connections within. And these ones may have an experience during 2016 that will support a timeline of future experiences for them that are much more in the light, where common sense and higher perceptions come into play for them. This is what they are experiencing. Others might believe the wars and that they are inevitable because they are being told they are inevitable. And their timelines might involve those events, those unfolding events that perpetuate that which is the agenda of those in power. But this would be their personal experience. What is important here to understand is that it is of critical importance to truly examine what your beliefs are, to understand when there is a denial of a possibility of change, there probably will not be seen any change at all, because in that individual's reality, it is not what is being energized or being called in. Therefore, although this individual has predicted the 27th of November, it is not seen by this awareness that it will necessarily be so, but it is also understood by this awareness that there are many that might wish something like this to be so. Always be aware of what it is you are calling in, and by being aware, you can change what you call in.
Okay, thank you. Now, many are prescribing that Putin is definitely representing an agenda for the light. I would like to know what your opinion, what your present, I don't know, your perception is today as far as Putin's actions, especially the fact that he has literally whistle blown on the United States, Obama administration, Turkey, etc., even ExxonMobil. I mean, there's just so much information that's coming out through Russia to expose the truth of who is funding these wars. And because of that, I'd like to know, what do you feel are his ultimate goals for the planet?
First, this awareness would say that he does not see it that way. He is not looking at the planet, at the world, of becoming the dominant force in the world. He is looking at how he can defend Russia, how he can bring Russia forward and the Russians themselves. He is not an aggressor who wishes world domination. But at the same time, it is seen that he is aware of the oligarchies. He is aware of the powers that be. They have wined and dined him. They wish him to be on their side and to work to achieve this Agenda 21 or Agenda 30, but he is not playing their game. There are reasons for this, his own traditional background, his own histories, lifetime histories. But basically it is seen that Putin is a good guy, this being in quotation, for he is also playing his role in greater events. And part of that role is to be one who will not submit to those who are trying to bring the planet down, who are trying to enslave humanity and to achieve total and complete control, even though he could be one of the elites. Because of his sincere attitude and wish on this matter, he sees himself as a champion for humanity. And it is not, again, about world domination or control. He sees himself as a hero to his people, and he is dedicated. This one is truly a patriot to his country. But he also, as this awareness has said, sees the evil and the darkness for what it is. And he resists this evil and darkness. It is seen that there are ones who work with him in terms of extraterrestrial assistance. And it is mainly the Nordic ones that work with Putin who are offering him technology that is being used even now in Syria and in other areas. And he is fully prepared to use even more of the technologies that the Nordics have given him, that will give him a military superiority and edge. He has voiced this. He has said he will use the technology that he has that has not yet been brought out. But he is not always taken seriously. This is the greatest mistake that Barack Obama and the American military and the American government are making towards Putin. They are underestimating him and believe that they can still manipulate him. The goal for John Kerry when he went to Russia recently was to try to persuade him to come over or to frighten him. He was not frightened. He will stand up. He will resist these ones. This does not make him a savior. And this does not mean that he does not have his own faults and flaws. But in terms of one who is resisting the dark ones, who is saying no to them, then Putin is one who is doing this. And for this it is seen he is working then to serve the light and to serve spirit. This may not be even how he sees it himself, but this awareness says it is seen that this is so, and he is one who is keeping at bay the very ones who would have long ago completed their agendas if it was not for Putin and others as well.
Okay. Now, what about Xi Jinping, who is the president of China? How do you see him and his, I should say, his feeling towards the United States, and also he representing a torchbearer for the light?
He is not the torchbearer that Putin is. In fact, this awareness would say that he is more of a fence straddler and is in some ways working both sides to see who comes out on top. There are secret societies within China that have allegiances both to their own people and to being servants of the truth. But he is not one of these. He is seen to be an opportunist, and as such, this awareness says at this time he is waiting to see who comes out the stronger before he commits himself. It is a curious role that he and his country are playing. There is saber rattling against the United States, which seems to suggest he is anti-American and China is anti-American. And then in the next day's news, it is shown how he has had conferences and meetings with top officials and is in agreement with the United States on other matters. At the same time, a similar game is played with the Russians and Putin. And it seems that he is supporting Russia and what they stand for, which of course causes many to feel and think that he is again against America, for it is seen he is working with the Russians. But he is simply looking at both sides and waiting to see who is more successful. That is what is seen at this time for this one.
Interesting. Now, you mentioned that the Nordics extraterrestrial race has been guiding and assisting Putin, or at least communicating with him. Who would you say, which extraterrestrial race would you say is doing the same with China?
It is not seen that it is the Nordics. It is seen more that the ones guiding China are choosing not to be seen at this time. And this would thus make it difficult for this awareness to put it out. What is seen is that it is some of this and some of that. There is division amongst the ranks, if you will, and some, as this awareness said, there are some secret societies who are standing for the rights of the Chinese people, and that they have certain ones who are guiding them from the Galactic Federation. But there are others who are trying to pull this apart, and they would be more from the Orion Reptilian Federation or faction. That this is not clear completely at this time. There are the White Dragon societies also involved, and the Red Dragon and other agencies that are claiming to have extraterrestrial connection. But this is not something that is being brought out. It is meant to be somewhat in the background at this time.
Okay. Now, what do you feel is the sort of alliance developing between Russia and China? Many of us today look at that from the standpoint that it's a mutual disagreement with the United States Obama administration. But is there something else? Is there something else to it? Is there a bigger game brewing behind closed doors with two huge superpowers?
There is indeed a bigger game, but this bigger game is being played on both sides, that they are in opposition, and they see that if they come together as two super nations, that they will strongly outnumber and outpower America and its allies. as this awareness said a moment ago, China is more opportunistic to serve its own needs and its own purposes, but it is not against playing with Russia, joining with Russia, and fulfilling their treaties with Russia, being an ally with Russia, and that this is seen as something that will continue to expand. And as that power struggle that is occurring behind the scenes in China for alliance to groups such as the Nordics, such as the alliance that Russia has with the Nordics, as such comes into effect in China, then you will see an even stronger connection to Russia and a commitment to fulfilling a role that it is juggling at this time, because it is not yet certain, China is not yet certain which way to go, which will advantage them the most. As this awareness said, it is trying to play both sides. And when it does, it plays both sides with conviction and commitment, but it is still somewhat up in the air at this time.
Okay. There have been many articles presenting the fact that the cabal have regular meetings in the country of New Zealand, and that in fact they have done an awful lot of building over there. Can you express to us why that would be? Why that location on the planet would be of interest to them?
Because it is a safe zone for them, that they already have plans in the event certain situations occur or events occur, that they would leave for safe ground, and that New Zealand and Australia are both considered safe ground, and they are simply covering their tracks, covering their bets, if you will, by preparing this nation and Australia as well in the event that they might need to come there. Those this awareness is referring to as the elite families, the ones in power, the ones who are trying to push their agenda. But if that agenda fails, they also have their backup plans. And one is to go to New Zealand, not by air, for it is seen there are underground tunnels the world over, and there are tunnels that they can take the two trains to New Zealand in these tunnels. And it is seen that there are underground bases in New Zealand and Australia that will take in these ones in the event that they must escape and hide out in a safe place. It is this that is seen in regards to the cabal and their presence in New Zealand.
There's also some suggestion that the entire plan, the divine plan with Mother Earth and the light forces, has been to trap or capture the dark in one closed field, meaning that they are trapped here and cannot be released through the gate. I wanted to know what your perception on that is.
This awareness has for years explained that there are three major themes of development, that these themes involve planets that this awareness calls Planet A, Planet B, and Planet AB. That those on Planet B would be those who continue to support in the timelines where those in power, those in control, the reptilians, the draconians, the Orions, the Archons, will have completed their objectives. that this would be a level of experience for those who are not ready to move on, to grow, to open the doors of conscious awareness. This would be a series of timelines under the theme of Planet B. Planet A is extended consciousness that comes from higher levels, such as the fifth dimensional level, and that humans may begin to realize themselves as fifth dimensional spiritual beings who can still have human experiences, and that Planet A and the timelines of Planet A would be those timelines of experiences that would be a reflection of this. But the majority of humans will occupy Planet AB. That Planet AB is, in a sense, not what it once was in terms of how it is now, but rather will be a planet where a dualistic consciousness still exists. For this is still to be a lesson that is experienced, but gone will be the old experiment, gone will be the manipulation and control, and that individuals will still be able to choose the light or the dark, but they will not be able to run riot with it. There will be consequences and there will be exposure. This is not the case at this time on this planet, as many of those in control have it so sewn up that they do not let their plans out, or so they think, but they see this now breaking apart. Still, many will maintain that the criminals are the ones that they need to follow for whatever reason. What awareness is saying here with this concept of the three planets, the Planet A scenarios, the Planet AB scenarios, and the Planet B scenarios, is there are choices to be made that will land you on one theme or another. And that if you are unaware of this, that you may find that you are still able to be manipulated into accepting the lies and hold that it is better, this way of living is better. For example, the whole concept of capitalism and money and wealth. This is a concept that is starting to come unraveled. And it is seen that in the future, they will not use money as it is being used now. But many will not wish to let go of this. Many will think because they are doing so well, they wish to support those who have made their lives the success stories, those in power, and they may continue to support such ones. And for these ones, in their choices, they will begin to go through doorways that will lead them to descending timelines that will take them off to the Planet B scenarios and timelines. But there are others who have worked very hard and very diligently at opening their spiritual awareness and their consciousness, who hold the space and who have been active in the pursuit of spreading truth about the higher levels of consciousness. These ones may be the ones that ascend to a higher plane and realize they are still interested in a physical reality, but with expanded consciousness. And these are the ones that will experience the time A scenarios and themes. But for most who are still on that process of spiritual evolution, who have come in, who are what some would call young souls, that these ones still have many experiences to be had in the physical realm, but no longer those experiences that were prevalent during this time of control and manipulation by the Dark Ones during a time when there was a lack of spiritual connection. That many on the AB timeline scenarios will still need to experience the choices that are there and to live their life for the highest. This is how humanity as a mass will progress into the future until all of humanity, through the spiritual teachers that will arrive, will finally reach a point of mass ascension. But this is seen to be thousands of years ahead. In the meantime, personal expansion, personal ascension to a higher state of consciousness is that which is the strongest option for those who are spiritual seekers. Does this explanation make sense to you?
Yes, it does. Now,
in other words, there are many playgrounds to play in, and you can choose where you wish to play.
Yeah, it makes sense. Total free will. Now, this is a little bit off the subject, but can you clarify what is truly happening in the Gulf of Aden? And this is where hundreds of countries' naval forces have accumulated around what appears to be a vortex in the ocean.
Is this a current event?
It's been going on, and there's very little coverage on it. And it's been going on for quite some time.
The reason this awareness asks for it is seen that there are recent the word is failing this awareness at this moment. It is seen that recently there has been an escalation in that area, and those ships that are around that area are aware something is happening, but this is being kept top secret at this time, for it has to do with extraterrestrials. It has to do with certain undersea, underwater bases that are submerged under the oceans. And it is seen that this event is something that they will try to hide, for it will so alter people's thinking on matters of such a weird and strange event, and then an extraterrestrial event on top of it, that those in power are generally trying to keep a lid on and to keep this secret.
Interesting. Now, supposedly, there's many articles out there claiming that we are in the midst of an economic global reset. I would like to know if you agree with this. And also, they have mentioned that there has been a forgiveness of debt decreed amongst many countries, except for those that are involved with the US dollar at this time. What is your comment on that?
That this is a situation that is playing itself out and has been playing itself out for quite some time. As you know, there have been many in the last year alone who claimed that there would be an economic reset in October of 2015. It did not occur. Others at other times. It did not occur. What is seen is a highly volatile situation where the United States, through smoke and mirrors, is continuing to dominate the international currency, with America being the primary exchange commodity. But it is mostly a lie. And if China, for example, were to call the debts that she holds in America, everything would collapse. But as this awareness has said, China at this time is playing both sides. It will not call in the debt card on America just yet. But if it feels that doing so would advantage China, then it will do so. And that is when it is seen that there might indeed be a collapse of the American dollar as the international commodity that is currently used. But it is not seen that this will happen 100%. There is a likelihood. This awareness can say this, and from all the timelines, for it must be understood, this awareness has available to it not one linear timeline, but an infinite amount of possible timelines. And it is seen there are very strong timelines in 2016 for a reset of the American dollar, or even a collapse of the financial situation worldwide. But it is not 100%. As each and every one is a creative being, the energies they put into believing this or that will seriously affect their own experiences of reality. And that is why this awareness will not predict that there will be a collapse or a reset. But it can say the energies for this are very strong for 2016 if certain other events occur, such as China deciding to pull the plug on the United States and going completely with Russia and BRICS and its own international security bank, and that this could happen in 2016, and this would make a difference indeed and create a financial collapse with the resetting of the American dollar.
Wow, we have a big year ahead of us. Now there is also talk that between now and probably the spring equinox, I believe that was the time frame, between now and March, okay, it is being said that this is going to be some of the most intense times. Why do you feel that that's being said? And if so, is it something that we need to prepare for regarding maybe a lack of food, lack of water, lack of gasoline, and so on and so forth, even lack of access to our own money from the ATMs?
Because according to the planned agenda of those in power, those with the drawn up plans of what is meant to have been achieved or will be achieved, that it is their schedule that some are picking up on. And it is a plan that involves an attack on the United States of America. And also it is seen an attack on London, England, or in England. And that this is meant to create an ultimate situation that will finally convince the populace, not only of America, but the global populace, that there is an extreme threat and all-out action must now be taken against those who are pronounced as the enemy, be it the terrorists, the Arabs and the Muslims and others who could be called homeland terrorists, or even an invading extraterrestrial fleet. What is important, and this awareness does say that it is important to understand yet again, that the energies you put into a situation, that which you believe and hold to be credible and true, is that which you will most likely experience. But it is seen that the events will be false flags, designed, of course, for the purpose of convincing finally, one and all, that a world military must be established, or that reset of the whole finances must happen, and loss of personal savings, so that the governments can do what they need to do against the threat. That this is seen as likely during this period, but not guaranteed. Likely because those in power are now so desperate that they will carry forth their final actions in order to achieve finally, before the end of the year, that which is the completion of their goals and their purpose. It is seen exactly during the time prescribed that there may be the most danger of an attack on the United States for this purpose. Do not energize this. Do not believe it because someone is predicting it or saying it, be it a top-level spiritual individual who has made predictions, or a government official who makes statements. That it is imperative to know that as this energy unleashes around one and all, that it is important that they stay calm, that they do not simply believe what they are being told, that the delusional state of these ones is being reflected in their actions, and that it is imperative not to fall into the delusions or into the lies, for to do so would be to lose oneself and could jeopardize that which is the timeline that would bring them through all of this. Therefore, in terms of a time frame, it is seen that the period of the beginning of the year to the equinox in the spring is a crucial one, but it is also seen that this may well carry on beyond the spring and into the summer.
Wow. Now, you had mentioned before that Putin was actually assisting the light, perhaps not even consciously aware of it. Are there any other heads of countries that we can look at that are also serving this same type of agenda that's beneficial for the planet?
The first thing this awareness would say is those leaders around the world that push agendas like the vaccination program that is being pushed in Australia, the making illegal resistance of vaccination, that ones who are pushing such things are obvious in that they are the ones that are serving other masters. As far as certain leaders who may have a capacity to turn against the old guard, that there are not many in the Western world that are seen by this awareness at this time. One who is seen as a possible bright light is the young Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. Yet he is from an Illuminati family, his father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, being one of the best servers to the cause and to the agenda. And that Justin and his brothers grew up with certain training, so to speak, that as an Illuminati family, that this would have been the norm, and that he was one who received this Illuminati upbringing. But it is seen there is more to him, and that he is in a delicate time, having been recently elected as the Prime Minister of Canada, and that there are many of the old guard that surround him that would push him in certain directions, but it is seen a much purer soul, and it is seen he is one who has a distinct possibility of going against the old guard, against the Illuminati expectations on him. But it is not yet a guarantee. But he is one that this awareness would say could be a possible leader of a Western nation who might turn against those who he has known all of his life, and might turn against those in power to lead Canada in a new direction.
Thank you. Wow, that's interesting.
That this is the only one seen at this time.
Okay. Wow. So we have two potentially out of all.
But Justin Trudeau is not playing the role that Putin is playing. It must be remembered that Putin knows his enemy well, and that it is, of course, as this awareness said, for his country that he is resisting, but he also will not allow the corruption of the elites in his country, and this is against them. Whereas it is seen Justin Trudeau will not go to war against the United States, even though Benjamin Fulford has recently predicted that he might take Canadian troops into the United States and capture the White House and arrest Barack Obama. It is not seen that this at all will occur, despite what Benjamin Fulford has said about it. But what is seen is that this one, Justin Trudeau, has been informed of the situation. And it may be that rather than go into conflict with him and with the United States, going into conflict with Barack Obama, that Justin Trudeau may concentrate more on Canada and pulling it out of its involvement, as he has already started to do by bringing back the planes that Canada sent to Syria and Iraq. Therefore, it is a different role, but it is still an example of how there are certain leaders who are not completely fitting the bill, such as Putin, or in Justin Trudeau's case, who might truly lead their nation in a new direction.
Fantastic. Now, supposedly, Saint Germain has prepared the world for the rolling out of a large amount of financing for every man, woman, and child on the planet. Do you see this as a potential timeline in the year 2016?
It is not seen as a timeline in 2016, although there are certain ones, such as Saint Germain, that have certain plans in situ, but it is not seen it will quite come to this in 2016 unless events create the situation of the collapse of the American dollar internationally, and that is when such action would take place, where Saint Germain would come forward, and that which is an alternative banking system or economic system introduced. There are huge sums that are available to those who are working with these ones, but it is not yet seen clearly if this will happen in 2016, for there are so many options. One timeline does see something like this happening, and yet several see it being held off. It is a frustration in many ways, for many have felt and thought that Saint Germain's group would come through before now, and as this awareness has said, they are waiting, they are in situation, prepared, but there needs to be certain events that take place. And even though some of those events should have taken place last year or even the year before, they did not. And that is why things are in the air. It must be understood, and this awareness would wish to speak this now, that predictions are not guaranteed. No one can truly 100% predict the future, although many can tune into the energies. This is because the situations are constantly changing, and that even though it might have been thought this will happen because this and that happened instead, this did not happen. Therefore, all this awareness ultimately can offer is energies that are seen at this time that seem to be prevalent. And therefore, when it comes to making 100% prediction, because the future is not set and these factors are always shifting and changing, it is impossible even for this awareness to give a prediction that will involve 100% of humanity all having the exact same experience. It is impossible to do this. Therefore, this awareness is dealing with the energies of the timelines that are most prevalent and energetic at this time. How it will be, even though this awareness, for example, has spoken that it will be a crucial time from the beginning of 2016 to the equinox in the spring, how this may play out may completely change everything that this awareness at this time has spoken about. That is why it is so important to be flexible, to not lose one's balance, and to only believe this prediction or that one who made that prediction. Because when one puts all of their eggs in one basket, there is always the problem that the basket may be dropped.
Understand. Now, there has been quite a bit of aggression and assertion on the part of the pharmaceutical companies in the American Western Medical Association in terms of making things like the word healing or healing products illegal. Do you see this really having any teeth in the year of 2016, or will they continue to falter in being able to institute that intention?
That it is most definitely seen this would be their wish, to completely eliminate alternative health and alternative practice and alternative remedies, and thus be a monopoly and the sole owners of the health field. Of course, this would involve very much any who are trying to work energetically through energetic healing as well, and that if they could do this, they would be the top dog. But this awareness sees this as that which will never pass, will never be successful, especially now as more and more are coming to a realization that allopathic health does not work. Pharmaceutical drugs are not the answer. And therefore, more and more are turning towards alternative approaches and finding far greater success with alternative therapies, remedies, medicines, and approaches than with allopathic methods. That this is part of that which this awareness would call an awareness to an alternative healing that involves vibration and energy, light, sound, and intent. And all of this is medicine of the future, where one day the medicine that is practiced now will be considered as ancient and barbaric in nature. And this is what is seen in the future. But right now, at this time, there are indeed those, such as those with Monsanto and others, who would love to make it so, have it declared that one cannot use the word healing or make any claims. This is already more or less the case. Most cannot claim to cure illness or disease, for this will be that which they could be arrested for. It is simply part of their agenda, and it is not an agenda that will be successful in the end. However, in 2016, you may see these ones becoming even more active in their actions of trying to make it so, having control to such a degree.
Okay. Do you see a lot of severe weather changes? For example, here in the West Coast, we're having more and more rain, but it's manageable. I know that there are more and more earthquakes popping up throughout the world. What do you see in that area in the year 2016?
That this awareness does see more extreme events, geological, geophysical events, such as earthquakes, such as volcanic eruptions, such as extreme weather. Part of this, the major part, is Mother Earth now responding. And it is seen that in 2016, Mother Earth may indeed respond in greater measure than she has until recently. Now, events are seen by this awareness that could be natural disasters of a high magnitude in the year 2016.
Wow. And what do you see as far as the fate of ISIS now that they have been exposed, as far as who's behind them and who's financing them in the year 2016?
This really will depend on whether or not you trust your evening news. Right now, it is being reported that ISIS is stronger than ever and is aggressively engaged in their activities. Yet, if one were to go to another news source, alternative news source, such as RT, one would see that the reports that are coming through RT show that ISIS is in crisis and that they have been extremely pounded by the Russian and Syrian troops, including the allies that are now in Syria. Yet this is not at all suggested in the evening news or in the daily papers. Quite the opposite. Therefore, although this awareness would say that ISIS has already been dealt a crippling blow and it is no longer in the same position as it once was, the news will be presented that it is still a powerful threat. And if people simply believe what they see on the television news or read in their morning paper, believe that ISIS is still powerful, then it will still be considered a threat. Remember, it is meant more to be a boogeyman, to arouse deep fear and terror and panic. They are not wishing to leave this one, to let go of this one, this boogeyman called ISIS, ISIL, Daesh, whatever you would call it, for it is helping them introduce terror, fear, panic, hopelessness the world over, and that it is not any longer confined simply to Iraq or Syria, but these ones, this ISIS group, can strike in anyone's backyard, quite literally. And so it's the belief that is being put out. It is not the truth, of course. But this awareness says for 2016, those who are controlling the media will support the government's plan and agenda and present ISIS still as a threat. This awareness says the reality is that it is closer to collapse now than being an active, powerful force that is such a threat as is claimed still on the evening news.
Right on. Now, this is going to be my last question because we are running out of time, and that is the role of the Vatican at this time. How do you see them presenting themselves, positioning themselves in the year 2016? And is it true that they still are, in fact, planning a false extraterrestrial visitation?
It is true. It is seen energetically that such a visitation, such an event, is being planned by not only the Vatican, but by the cabal itself. They are in cahoots with each other on this one. And it is seen that there have been predictions of this reformer pope that suggest he will be killed or assassinated and before the last pope arrives or is elected. This is still seen as their agenda. But does it mean Pope Francis will actually be killed? It is not seen that he will actually die, but it will be made to seem as if he was killed, and so that another can replace him, and so the agenda can be carried out. This is their plan, but again, do not believe necessarily that it will be so, simply because some have said and predicted it to be so. They too must respond to the energies and the situations that right now they are quite committed to their plans. And it is definitely a plan that involves an extraterrestrial arrival and a proclamation that the one that has come is the new Messiah, and that now there is an expansion into a galactic or universal consciousness with the introduction of alien beings who would be baptized by the Pope. All of this is, of course, simply nonsense. But it is part of their way of controlling and part of their hope to bring it to a one world government where the Catholic Church becomes the one world religion. This is all part of a long drawn out, long held plan. And it is seen that if they get their way, if certain things happen for them, that the Catholic Church, the Vatican, will indeed try to carry out their plans and their agenda.
Well, we have about maybe 5 to 7 more minutes, and I think all I would ask you to let me know, is there anything else you'd like to add as far as maybe the theme of 2016, anything else that you would suggest that we do in order to assist the progress of the light for the year 2016?
That for the last hour, this awareness has been covering possibilities that many wish to hear predictions so that they can feel a little safer or more secure in what one has spoken as a prediction. But what this awareness would say is that this is simply not how it really works. While this awareness can give overviews and discuss such matters, that ultimately it is the individual themselves and what they believe in that will energize their experiences of reality. Therefore, the theme for 2016, for those who are seeking a spiritual understanding or a increase in their conscious understanding of how reality works, is to not trust anyone or anything that seems to suggest this or that will happen on this or that date. Again, to be open, to be balanced, and to see what happens. But what is then more important is how will you react? How will you react if there is a major attack on the United States of America? Will you immediately wave the flag and bow to the wishes of those in power who insist that the terrorists or the enemy who have done this must be dealt with, and that you will then march in their armies to deal with the enemy that you have been told is your enemy? Or will you stand back and look at this and understand that they are desperate and their actions are the actions of ones who are desperate, and they will try to draw you in to make you a believer? But the theme for the year is to be a non-believer to official events and situations, to not believe simply because it is on your television, but rather to ask questions, to look deeper, to find your inner connections. There is a very important theme for 2016, but it is of a most personal nature, to develop your own capacity as a sentient being who is responding to new truths, new realities that are being presented, that are being made available for you, the individual. But it is your choice. It is all about choice. And if you choose not to believe that you are of a spiritual nature, if you choose to believe that those who are from the higher levels are able to be contacted, if you do not believe in aliens and extraterrestrials and believe it to be bogus, then you will not experience this. And it may well be that you wind up having experiences that are based on fear and panic and confusion and chaos, rather than to have experiences that open the doors and show you the way forward. Therefore, the theme for 2016 is to trust yourself, to declare yourself as a sovereign being, and to understand a new reality is dawning. But it will take more than 1 year. It will take more than a few years. It is that which is the new path forward. And that 2016 will be crucial in how you proceed, how humanity proceeds, how Mother Earth responds. There is great potential and great opportunity. The force of divine source itself is coming every day stronger and stronger into the planet and into the consciousness of the individual and humanity. But as you are beings of free will, you still have choices to make. And that in these choices you will determine for yourself your personal direction. This awareness indeed is excited about 2016, even with the challenges, even with the false flag events that could possibly happen. For it knows that this year is that year which will bring humanity finally to a new energy of awareness towards their political leaders, their generals, their military, their financial markets, their educational systems, their medical systems. That these opportunities can allow and promote even more growth towards spiritual understanding, an acceleration in conscious awareness because it is that which is occurring, or it can be turned around if one does not choose to see the deeper truth of their own being and the truth that lies around them. This awareness chooses to energize the light, the opportunity of spirit that is being presented in 2016, and holds that it will be so. It will be also a time of drawing the line in the sand, of saying no to certain ones who would impose their will upon you. Again, the example of vaccination is one that springs to mind, and that many may come in 2016 to that point of drawing their line in the sand and saying this far and no further. This is part of that rebellious energy that this awareness has also seen for 2016. That this energy of standing up and saying no is also very much part of the energies of 2016. And seen together as standing up and declaring yourselves as sovereign beings, that these energies are the energies that will bring to you the opportunities and events that you will need to experience in 2016 so that you can move forward, so that you can expand, so that you can grow into the true being of light and spirit that you already are. It is more in a realization of this that one finds the truth in this. That this awareness wishes one and all a highly opportune year, one that is filled with self-discovery and enlightenment. Know that the darkness is being penetrated by the light of spirit. Know that you are spirit and you are the light that is lightening up the darkness. That this is that which you are, and you are that which is.
Wow. Thank you so much, Cosmic Awareness. That was beautiful.
That it is done and it is complete. It is so.
And so it is. Wow. Well, we are definitely right at the top of the 2-hour mark, I think. And so we're going to have to cut this really short and end
Yeah,
it with,
all right.
No problem. We wish all of you a wonderful new year. Make this be the year you want it to be. We are in total manifestation mode. We are the creators of our new world. We are so powerful beyond our wildest dreams. And when you make the decision to step into that box instead of the box that you're not powerful and that you're weaker and that you need assistance beyond what you think you need, then your life is really going to change. This is our new year to see our lives and ourselves truly as equals to all of the other extraterrestrials and equals to all of those that are gifted, because we are gifted. We're in this together. So I just want to wish everyone a wonderful new year. I love you with all my heart. I hope that you have enjoyed all the radio shows for 2016. And I want to thank all the people and all the volunteers and those that have assisted me to keep us going through a very challenging 2015. I want to thank Sandy Wilkins and BB Tinsley in particular, who are just dynamite women. And my husband, Stephen, who takes care of all the shipping. And my friend, James Hines, who helps me with sales and marketing. I mean, the list goes on. And I will be doing an expose. I also want to thank Madeline, who is also one of my other bloggers. BB Tinsley is one of my other bloggers. please take the time to drop an email and thank them as well, because without them, I would not be here today. And without all of you, I would not be where I am today. So I thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm honored to be here to serve you. And I want to thank you, Will, for spending this very special way of kicking off the new year. Again, check out his website at rainbow-phoenix.com. And don't forget to check out the world-renowned implant removal process through Galactic Connection, as well as the spiritual past life clearing. And of course, definitely check out my alchemical formulas. You are in for a ride of your life if you check those out as well. Stay tuned. We will talk to you next year. Same time, same place, same channel. Thanks, Will.
You're welcome. Thank you, Alexandra. Have a brilliant year, and all same. Have a brilliant year, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.